By the summer of 2017, not a single person in Mike Ribeiro's life could reach him. Not his agent, not his wife, not his kids. A man who once led the Dallas Stars in scoring had simply vanished. No NHL team called. No European team called. He didn't flame out. He didn't fade. He disappeared. This is how it happened. Mike Ribeiro grew up in Hochelaga Maisonneuve, a neighborhood in Montreal's East End where poverty rates sat well above the city average. His parents were Portuguese immigrants. Professional hockey wasn't the plan for kids from that part of town. The Canadiens drafted him 45th overall in 1998. Second round. For years, he bounced around the Montreal roster, never quite earning a permanent seat. The talent was obvious. The opportunity wasn't. Then came the trade that changed everything. On September 30th, 2006, Montreal sent him to Dallas for defenseman Yanni Niinema and a draft pick. In his first season with the Stars, he led the team in scoring with 59 points. The next year, he exploded. 27 goals, 56 assists, 83 points. Career highs across the board. He earned his first and only All-Star selection. And on January 7th, 2008, Dallas locked him up with a 5-year, $25 million contract extension. Co-GM Brett Hull told reporters that he was just scratching the surface, that it wasn't a one-hit wonder type of season. Off the ice, Ribeiro was the guy everyone wanted around. He organized team dinners, hosted annual Super Bowl parties at his house, and pulled younger players into the group. Teammates in Dallas, later in Washington, later in Nashville, they all said the same thing. He was one of the funniest, most magnetic people in any room he walked into. James Neal, who played with him on both the Stars and the Predators, put it simply, he's always been a great guy. That was the foundation, and it was about to crack. October 10th, 2010. Ribeiro, his wife Tamara, and two friends are at Raw Sushi Bar in Plano, Texas, a suburb just north of Dallas. An argument breaks out with other patrons. An off-duty officer working the restaurant steps in. All four are taken into custody for public intoxication. One of the friends picks up an additional charge. Ribeiro is released before dawn. 6 hours later, he's on the ice at practice in Frisco. Stars GM Joe Nieuwendyk tells reporters the team will handle it internally. Ribeiro calls it a small thing, and that's the last anyone hears of it.
No, I don't think so. Like I said, it wasn't a big thing, and then hopefully we can put that behind us today.
June 22nd, 2012. Draft day. Dallas trades Ribeiro to Washington for Cody Eakin and a second-round pick. Fresh city, fresh roster, fresh chance. And it works, at first. In a lockout-shortened 2012-13 season, he put up 49 points in 48 games, averaging better than a point per game, centering a line with Alex Ovechkin and Nicholas Backstrom. Washington looks like the answer. It isn't. July 2nd, 2013. The Capitals let him walk. They want him back, but not at the terms he's asking for. 3 days later, Phoenix hands him a 4-year, $22 million deal. It lasts one season. By October, his wife Tamara, who had divorced him in 2011 and remarried him 10 months later, packs up their 3 children and flies back to Dallas. Ribeiro is alone in Arizona. In his own words from a later interview, "I would come home and be alone in the house. I started drinking during the day. I would smoke cigarettes. I would smoke other drugs. I had nothing else to do." He played 80 games that season. Puts up 47 points. Not terrible on a stat sheet, but inside the Coyotes organization, the situation is untenable. On July 27, 2014, Phoenix bought him out, absorbing the 3 remaining years of his salary just to get him out of the building. GM Don Maloney doesn't sugarcoat it. He tells the press that Ribeiro had real behavioral issues that they could not tolerate going forward. Most players bought out like that quietly disappear. Ribeiro got another chance. But while he was chasing that next contract, something else was already unraveling. Something that had been going on since he was in Dallas. In August 2014, a civil lawsuit was filed that changed everything. The family's former nanny who had started working as their babysitter in Texas when she was 12, alleged that Ribeiro had made unwanted advances toward her dating back to 2007. The most serious claim in the filing described an incident in August 2012 at the family's home in McLean, Virginia, shortly after he'd signed with Washington. She alleged he came into the basement where she was sleeping near his children and put his hands on her. His wife Tamara was named in the suit for alleged negligence. Both denied the allegations. Ribeiro's attorney called the claims baseless and filed a motion to dismiss. But the filing changed the math for every front office in the league. Teams that might have taken a chance on a productive 34-year-old center backed off. Nashville was the only organization willing to make a move, and only under very specific conditions. On July 15, 2014, Ribeiro signed a one-year deal worth $1.05 million, a fifth of what Phoenix had been paying him 3 months earlier. Predators GM David Poile didn't pretend this was a normal signing. Before offering the contract, he got on a Skype call with both Ribeiro and Tamara. Ribeiro described it later. It wasn't much about hockey. It was more about family and where we were together. It was really heart-to-heart and human. Poile's public message was even more direct. He told reporters there was no tolerance for off-ice issues, but this was clearly, really his last chance. Ribeiro entered the NHLPA Substance Abuse and Behavioral Health Program voluntarily, and then he did something nobody expected. He went out and had the best season Nashville had seen from a center in years. 15 goals, 47 assists, 62 points. Second on the team behind only rookie Philip Forsberg. He set a franchise record for assists by a center. He led all Predators forwards in average ice time. In May 2015, Poile told the press that Mike Ribeiro was one of the best stories of the year, a real rebirth of his career. On July 1st, 2015, Nashville rewarded him with a 2-year, $7 million extension. 2 weeks later, on July 16th, the Nanny lawsuit was settled through an 8-hour mediation. Terms were confidential. Ribeiro's attorney released a statement saying the matter had been amicably resolved. The Predators said they were pleased Mike and his family could focus on their future. The lawsuit was over, but the thing about second chances is they only work if the person has actually changed. Ribeiro was about to answer that question. The 2015-16 season was solid. 7 goals, 43 assists, 50 points in 81 games. But his face-off percentage dropped. He disappeared in the playoffs. Nashville traded for Ryan Johansson in the offseason to be their true number 1 center. Then came 2016-17. And everything fell apart. Ribeiro managed 4 goals in 46 games. In his final 14 appearances, he recorded 0 goals and 3 assists. He was a healthy scratch in 5 of his last 11. Somewhere before Christmas 2016, he relapsed. The Predators found out. On February 2nd, 2017, they placed him on waivers. Not a single team in the league claimed him. He was assigned to the Milwaukee Admirals, Nashville's AHL affiliate. He considered retiring on the spot, but ultimately reported. He played 28 games in the minors, putting up 26 points, while his former Nashville teammates went on a run all the way to the Stanley Cup final. His wife made the decision she'd been putting off for years. She took their 3 children, Michael, Noah, and Victoria, and left. She called Perno. Months later, he described that conversation on the radio. She called me and she was crying, and she said she still loves Mike and that the kids missed him and want him back. And I told her something that is one of the hardest things I've ever told anybody. But for those 3 kids' sake, I told her, Tam, you can't go back. You can't give in to him. This is what you've been doing for the last 6 or 7 years. He keeps going off the wagon and everybody takes him back, so he does it again. By the summer of 2017, Perno couldn't reach his own clients. He told the press in May that Ribeiro had relapsed and his future in hockey was uncertain. By August, the situation had worsened. Perno went on TSN 690 and laid it out publicly. Ribeiro had stopped attending his substance abuse program meetings. He wasn't training. He hadn't touched the ice since the AHL season ended. He wasn't picking up calls from his agent, his wife, his children, his parents, or his sisters. The last person he spoke with was his mother-in-law about 3 weeks earlier. she tried to get through to him. He walked away. Then Perno said something that made it clear this wasn't just about hockey anymore. He doesn't train anymore, and he doesn't go out on the ice anymore. He's going to retire. And the hockey world's response? Nothing. No statement from Montreal, the organization that drafted him. No acknowledgement from Dallas, where he'd spent 6 seasons and signed a $25 million contract. 1,074 career games, an all-star appearance, nearly 800 points. And the league moved on as if he'd never existed. Because 4 years later, Mike Ribeiro resurfaced. And it wasn't on a hockey rink. Ribeiro and Tamara's divorce was finalized in September 2021 in Williamson County, Tennessee. 3 months earlier, in June 2021, Ribeiro was at his property on Lake Cypress Springs in Franklin County, East Texas, about 90 miles east of Dallas. He was 41 years old, 4 years removed from professional hockey. 3 women visited the property, reportedly considering the purchase of his lake house. Between June 20th and June 23rd, according to later court filings, they were assaulted on a boat and on a personal watercraft. In April 2022, a grand jury indicted him on 2 counts of assault. A third charge, attempted assault, was added later. He was arrested on April 28, 2022, and released the same day after posting a $200,000 bond. The trial began on January 22, 2024 in Franklin County. The county is rural enough that the jury pool of roughly 300 people couldn't fit into the courthouse. Jury selection was held at the Franklin County Airport instead, because of space and parking. Opening statements started the next day back at the courthouse. The trial ran for nearly 2 weeks. Witnesses included the women, their family members, an assault nurse examiner, and law enforcement. One witness, a male friend of the woman who'd been invited to the property, told the court that Ribeiro had been one of his idols growing up. On February 2nd, 2024, the jury returned its verdict. Not guilty on 2 counts. On the third count, attempted assault, they deadlocked after 12 hours of deliberation. Judge Eddie Northcutt declared a mistrial. On October 7th, 2024, the morning that the retrial was set to begin, Ribeiro accepted a plea deal. He pleaded guilty to indecent assaults, a Class A misdemeanor in Texas, admitting under oath that he touched the victim without her consent and with the intent to gratify his own desire. 8th Judicial District Attorney Will Ramsey said hearing Ribeiro finally admit under oath what he had done meant more to the victim than any future verdict. The victim read her impact statement in court directly to Ribeiro. She told him, "Forgiveness is not a feeling, it's a choice. And I pray that your family and your children never have to experience that kind of pain." The sentence? Credit for 1 day already served in the Franklin County Jail. A $4,000 fine plus court costs. $4,000 for a man who once signed a $25 million contract with the Dallas Stars. This isn't a story about hockey. It's a story about a man who could see exactly what he was destroying and still couldn't stop. In 2014, Ribeiro told reporters, "I don't want my kids to become what I became." He knew. He said it out loud. And it still wasn't enough. Every team that signed him believed the talent was worth the risk. Every person who stayed believed the man was worth saving. At what point does believing in someone become enabling them? That's not a hockey question. That's a life question. Thanks for being part of Skates and Scars. Ribeiro saw it all coming and said so out loud. That's the part that stays with you. If this story landed, the super thanks button is right there. Goes a long way. Drop a comment, tell us which moment changed how you saw the whole thing. And if you're not subscribed yet, this is your sign. We've got more coming.